This is so good. I just caught a revelation from the book of Exodus, chapter 15, verse 22 to 27. And I'm so excited. I want to share this with you. Please stay with me. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be a little long. And I'm going to title this, Just When You Thought It Was Over, God Has a Plan for You. So, have you ever felt like you've just come out of a struggle, a battle, or even a challenge, only to find out that as soon as you thought that you could just take a breath, another problem comes your way? It's like you finally have gone through something. Like you go through this big storm and then another one comes at your doorstep right after that. For some of you, you've been praying, you've been believing God, and God has in so many ways shown up for you. And in big ways too, but it almost feels as if you are just getting started. Well, I'm here to assure you, you are not alone. And in fact, the Bible is full of moments like that. And I believe that one of those powerful moments is what we see in Exodus chapter 15, verse 22 to 27. So, bam, imagine this, right? The Israelites had experienced one of the greatest miracles of all time. God parted the Red Sea and they were able to walk on dry land. And by doing so, they were able to escape the Egyptians that were following them. So you see the Israelites experiencing the hand of God in a very unique and powerful way. And I'm sure in that moment, their hearts was filled with hope, was filled with joy. And you can tell if you read the previous chapters how they sang and praised God. I believe in that moment, it looked as if they had made it through the worst thing possible. God had delivered them from the Egyptians, freed them from bondage, and now they were just on their way to the promised land. But guess what happened next? Yes, right after the miracle, right after the victory, right after their biggest breakthrough, they found themselves in a place called Mara. And what is this Mara place? It was a place, according to the Bible, that had bitter water. That land was completely barren. So here they were, now in a place where there was no comfort, no rest, nothing that could probably meet their needs. They were thirsty. They had just gone through the wilderness, and the water they found was undrinkable. Can you imagine that? You just experienced the biggest breakthrough of your life, and now you are just hit with something that feels worse, like worse than you've gone through. But listen, this is where the story gets so good. God didn't leave them in the wilderness. God didn't leave them in the wilderness of bitterness. No, you see, God had a plan. So after much crying to Moses, God told Moses to place a piece of wood into the bitter water. And immediately, the water turned sweet. Stay with me. So what was once undrinkable suddenly became a life-giving water. And here's the first thing I want you to catch, okay? Just because you face challenges after a breakthrough doesn't mean that your breakthrough was a mistake or that God abandoned you. Sometimes the wilderness is part of the journey. Some may see it as the end, but in God's timetable, it's just another step in the process. You see, the Israelites could have easily given up. I mean, we know their history. But God showed them that their faith wasn't just for miracles. It was needed in the process too. Now, let's look into it a little deeper, okay? Let's look at what happened after they experienced Mara. God didn't just lead them out of Egypt to be wandering aimlessly in the wilderness. God had a place prepared for them. In Exodus chapter 15, verse 27, the Bible says this: Then they came to Elim, where there was 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped near the water. So, see, Elim was a place of abundance. It was a place of provision. I believe that Elim wasn't just a random place that they chanced upon. I believe that it was a divine destination orchestrated purposely for them by God. So here's the lesson. God always has something better. God always has something better at the end of their challenge. Mara was just a temporary place, a temporary situation. Yes, it was a place of bitterness, but Elim, the place of abundance, was waiting for them right ahead. We often forget that God doesn't just promise us a smooth road, but He did promise us that He will lead us to a place of abundance, especially after we go through some of the greatest hardships. So, for some of you, you may feel like you just hit your Mara. You've walked through victory, but now things are feeling dry, things are feeling bitter. I want you to know this. Elim is just ahead of you. Just keep trusting God. Keep moving forward, because even though things may not be perfect right now, God has already made a better way out for you. And for some of us, in fact, the wilderness may be exactly what we need to allow God to refine us. So the challenges we face, the moments of discouragement, they are not signs that God has forgotten about us or abandoned us. They are often the place where God reveals Himself to us in the most profound way. Because think about this. In that wilderness, the Israelites had nobody but God. They had no water, no food, but it was there that God showed up in the most powerful way. And you see that through the journey of the Israelites. And not just this particular story, but you see how God provided manna for them, provided water from a rock, and how His presence even became a cloud by day and fire by night. God was with them during their darkest season. And honestly, that's how God works in our lives sometimes. It is in those dry seasons, in those moments where we struggle, that's when God shows up in the most unexpected ways. See, I want you to catch this. God will always meet you where you are and then take you further than you could ever imagine. So I don't know about you, but I'm just here to encourage you. If you are standing in your Mara today, if you're feeling frustrated, disappointed, feeling like this is too much and you've just had enough, I want to encourage you, don't give up. If you keep walking, if you keep trusting in God, your Elim, the place of abundance, is coming right up. It's not always going to be like this, I promise you. There are some of you that are overdue for an abundance and an overflow. And I know of a certainty that this one thing is for sure. God, He is faithful. And let me tell you this, He is preparing you for something greater, something beautiful, something that is beyond your imagination. So remember that every challenge that you face comes with a blessing. After the obstacles, there is always a promise. Just allow God to lead you. Trust God to take you on a step-by-step journey. And I tell you that eventually, when all is said and done, you will come to Elim, which is your place of divine abundance. Please stay faithful. Keep believing. You are closer than you think. Don't let the wilderness and the bitterness that you are experiencing right now fool you. God always has a plan for you. This has blessed me so much and I wanted to share. So I hope that it blessed you as much as it did me reading this. Kindly like, share, and comment. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. God bless you and shalom. And the name is Abba Ishen. Bye.